Hello everybody, how are you doing? And today's video is the continuation of the previous video on the topic of human performances and limitations. So let's continue with it. The eye. Okay, so before starting this, I would again want you to tell that this is the basic biology which we'll be learning. And since you would have already studied biology in your school, it's just that school level biology only. I'll just be giving you basic ideas in this just as a review. So let's talk about the eye. Eye, provides us vision. Then there are a lot of things involved in the eye. Cornea. Cornea is the front portion of the eye. Okay. The cornea is capable of contributing 70 to 80% towards total focusing of the eye. Okay, iris and pupil. Iris are the muscles around there that is responsible for the size of the pupil. It contracts and relaxes according to the light. According to that only, the amount of light that is entering the eye, it is dependent on that. And then there is lens and retina. Retina is a light sensitive screen which is at the back side of the eye. Okay, fine. And then there are two types of nerves, the rods and the cones. The rods are for the black and white picture that we detect, right? And the cones are sensitive to the colored images, or you can say that colored vision. Fine. Now what is fovea? Fovea is again an important thing. Fovea is the central part of the retina. Okay, so if you want to focus on something, anything that you are seeing with a very great focus, then automatically it is focused to the central part of the retina. That is the fovea. Okay, and so you can say that this is where the lot of these light sensitive cells are placed. It is in that area only, in fovea only. Okay, this is the area of best day vision and no night vision. Fine. Okay, just a second. Binocular vision, visual acuity accommodation. This is important in exams perspective. So binocular vision means seeing from both the eyes. So you might be knowing that there is a position in our eye which we call as a blind spot, and both the eye have different blind spot. So if you see from both the eyes, then the blind spot of one can be covered by the blind spot of the other, because we see in different slightly different angles from both the eyes. So binocular vision, one important thing, that binocular vision gives depth to your image or to your vision. It gives depth. So question can come, what gives you depth from your for your vision? It is the binocular vision, not anything else. Remember this thing. Now moving to the visual acuity. What is visual acuity? It is a measure of the capacity of the eye to determine small detail undistorted at a given distance. So when you are focusing, then your visual acuity is the sharpest. Okay, now next thing is accommodation. Well, accommodation is being able to focus to a close object is a function of eye's ability of accommodation, right? Now we will be talking about some of the visual limitations. First is the night vision adaptation. So for a high level illumination, only 10 seconds is required for adaptation, and in case of a full dark environment, 30 minutes are required for your eyes to adapt in that environment. Then only proper vision is possible. Okay, and then the dark adaptation takes time of 7 minutes for cones and 30 minutes for rods. Pilot can get adapted to darkness within 20 minutes under dim red cockpit light. but it is not advisable to have a red cockpit light inside. So it is there, it might be there, but it is not advisable to just look in the red cockpit light, because the red color, it distorts various colors as well. So you can you might miss out on some information or the other. That is why a proper white light is important in the cockpit. Okay. Then dark adaptation is impaired by exposure to cabin pressure altitude above 5,000 feet. Carbon monoxide deficiency of vitamin A can be the reasons, and then prolonged exposure to bright sunlight is also a reason where your dark adaptation may get impaired. Okay. What can be done in that case? You can do that. Close your eye, one of the eye, and try to see from just single eye, and then look side 15 to 20 degree of the object. If there is any object, then look at some stable point for around 15-20 degree angle from that, then you might be better. But only for that particular time you can see from one eye, then you have to use both of your eyes, otherwise the blind spot thingy comes into play. So if any other aircraft is there in your blind spot area and you're not able to see from that one eye, then it's a big problem. That is why properly see from both the eyes, and keep a proper lookout outside the window of the cockpit, and keep a watch out. Okay. Also, when you're flying in high altitudes, you are more prone to the exposure of UV lights or some very dangerous lights, which can affect the functioning of your eye. That is why good quality sunglasses are it's not suggested, but it is important. You should have it. Fine. Now let's talk about the visual defects, myopia, hypermetropia, etc. So myopia is also known as short-sightedness. So remember it that way: myopia, short-sightedness, because the spelling of myopia is small. Hypermetropia, it is a big one, so that is long-sightedness. So long-sightedness matlab you can see dur wali cheez properly, and nearby things you cannot see properly. And the short-sightedness is where you can see the nearby area things, objects very properly. Myopia may you require concave lens to correct it, and convex lens is needed for hypermetropia. In case of myopia, the object that is formed, the image that is formed, that falls in front of the retina, and it falls at the back of the retina in case of hypermetropia. Presbyopia is again an inability of the lens to change its shape. You might know that the lens changes its shape, then only it's possible, right? So in presbyopia, lens is not able to change its shape, for different objects to see. So that is again corrected by convex lens only. Astigmatism is something mishappen or oblong cornea. So for cornea, it is astigmatism, irregular shape of the cornea. This is what happens in this. And then coming to next, which is glaucoma. So glaucoma is characterized by progressive narrowing of the visual field. So the range that you can see, that is narrowed down to some limit, that is glaucoma. So inside an onset of a concealed progression and on increase in intraocular pressure. So actually the intraocular pressure, it increases due to the fluid that is there inside this, and so your vision's field is reduced. That is what happens in glaucoma. Fine. Color blindness, that is the color defective vision is there. So cones are not able to work properly. In that case, you have color blindness. Fine. Okay. Now we will be moving to the next part. Ear. The function of ear is not just hearing. It is also for balance of the body, and acceleration detector. These are the two main functions of the ear. Okay. Now, the ear is divided into three parts. The outer ear consists of pinna, etc. Inner ear, middle ear. Fine. So, we will be talking about the middle ear and the inner ear a little bit. Eustachian tube. This is a very important tube. Okay, so it is said that while you are flying, you should make sure that your eustachian tube is not blocked. Okay, otherwise you will feel very much uncomfortable while landing or in that phases. Okay, then next important thing is otis barotromus. So otis barotromus is stretching of eardrum, which is caused by the expansion or contraction of the gases which is trapped inside the inner ear and blocked by the eustachian tube. So if that gas is there, it can be painful, and I have experienced this once. I don't know whether there was some gas trapped inside, but I think my eustachian tube was blocked or something. So while I was descending, actually I was having cold that time. So I had a severe pain in one of my ear while we were landing, the whole landing phase. But as we landed down, we got on the ground, we came out. That time I was all fine, but at that time while we were landing, it was way too painful. So you need to take care of that your eustachian tube is or properly cleaned up, and during cough or cold, if you're having, in that case you can try to swallow deliberately, and that might help you. Okay, now very important, balance mechanism, vestibular apparatus. Okay, this is responsible for maintaining spatial orientation. This is done with the help of two things, otoliths and semicircular canals. Otoliths help for linear acceleration and angular acceleration for semicircular canals. So with the help of these two things, we are able to keep our spatial orientation all in place, right? Talking about the orientation, there are three things that helps us. Vision, vestibular apparatus, which includes otoliths and semicircular canals, and third is somatosensory system, G-force. So vision is the primary thing, and this is the most reliable thing. But the vestibular apparatus, in that case, if there is no acceleration, if we are at rest or if we are moving with a constant speed, in that case our vestibular apparatus will not work because we are not accelerating, right? And then somatosensory system, this is the least reliable of all. So just with the help of somatosensory system, we cannot orient ourselves in a proper manner. So and same with the case of vestibular apparatus also, right? So there is in case of otoliths organs and the semicircular canals, that is the vestibular apparatus, where this there is fluid flow thing that is going on in that. So in case of an acceleration, the fluid is flowing in that opposite direction, and due to the movement of this fluid, the hair is moving. So that hair that gives the signal to the brain of the movement of the body, the motion of the body. So that is how this works in case of a vestibular apparatus. Okay. Then there is a conflict between the ears, eyes, illusion, and disorientation, vertigo, which we'll be discussing now. Illusion means that there is a mismatch in whatever we are sensing. So we might be seeing something else, hearing something else, and feeling something else. So this might cause to perception and misinterpretation of situations. So in that case, illusion occurs. So Gestalt theory will be telling you the laws of perceptual organization. Now we will be talking about different type of illusions. So while taxiing, if you are taxiing in a headwind, and if in case there is a snow, so if there is a headwind, then the snow will be coming towards you and you are taxiing. So because of the relative motion, you might be feeling that you are moving in a slightly greater speed. So that is one kind of illusion. During takeoff, you might be feeling that due to acceleration, you might be feeling that your aircraft's nose is a little bit upwards. So pitch up motion, that can be an illusion. And in cruise also, if there is no stable visual reference which we can see in case of an aeroplane, which can be considered as a stable reference, so that is why the chances of illusion is more. So in case of this cruise also, if you are focusing on some steady light, so that light might cause autokinetic motion of the eye. And in case of the dark area, that steady light you might visualize that as it is moving from here. Sorry about that horn. So you might feel that light is moving from left to right or anywhere like that. So you might want to align your aircraft in that. So that is where the real problem might occur. So these are the illusions which the pilot might have to fail. So you have to be properly trained and should be aware that these things can happen, and accordingly you should make a proper judgment. In case of landing and approach here, so it can be into 3 phases, you can say. One is the initial judgment of appropriate glide path, and then next is the maintenance of the glide slope, and then ground proximity judgment. Well, okay, so during approach and landing also, we may experience a lot of illusions, especially by the visual angle, width of the runway, and black hole effect. So for example, if you are used to flying in a wider runway whose width is more, and all of a sudden you have to land at a runway which is having less width, in that case you might be feeling that you are too much high and you have to descend faster. So that might cause illusion, and again it might cause a problem for landing. Black hole effect is where you are not able to see the cue lights, or even the cue lights are absent. So you might again feel that you are very much high. So all those things are the cases which might cause an illusion. Then ground lighting illusion. So in this ground lighting illusion, so if any highway or any well lighted up highways or roads are there, they can be confused or mistaken for a runway and the approach lights. So that causes an illusion. Then shallow approaches and steep approaches are again a very common thing. In case of a shallow approach and steep approach, as you can see in the diagram, this is the uphill slope, and this dotted line is the line of illusion. So in this case, the pilot may be feeling that he is too high, and he might feel that the runway is too short, and opposite in case of a downhill slope. So this is a steep approach case, and here this is the shallow approach case. Then in case of maintenance of the glide slope, in this case, if you focus on any aiming point, the fixed point on the windscreen, then the glide path or the glide slope can be maintained. Okay, and then speed loss. So if there is a speed loss, then in that case you might feel that you are coming rightly on the runway, but you might even land before the threshold position. Okay, then text and texture flow is there. Now coming to the ground proximity judgment, there are some points in this. So the apparent speed of the objects on the ground will increase as the height reduces, obviously. So as you as you come closer and closer to the runway, you will find that the speed of the vehicles moving or people moving, the speed of them will increase. Fine, and then the size of the object will also increase while we are decreasing the distance. and the apparent width of the runway will increase, texture of the ground will also change. Okay. In case of disorientation and vertigo, don't rely on the visual rules. Don't look outside. You obviously you have to look outside, but don't believe on what you see. The only thing that is you can believe is on the instruments, right? So believe on the instruments that you're seeing, and you can fly your aircraft. Now, coming on to the next part. Okay, before moving on to the leans, etc. Motion sickness. This is due to the mismatch between the vestibular and the visual sensory. Okay, and vibrations. Okay, the vibrations that occur by like 1/10 to 2 hertz frequency, that may again disrupt your normal functioning and disrupt your vestibular functions. So motion sickness can be caused by vibrations also. Okay, now let's move on to the leans, etc. Lean is where there is abrupt connection of the bank angle. Okay, so like if you're banking and then abruptly you are changing back, you might feel that you are now banking to the opposite direction. That is known as the leans. So the illusion that you feel in this is known as leans. Okay, next is Coriolis illusion. In Coriolis illusion, when you are abruptly moving your head in some direction in a prolonged constant rate of turn. So if you are turning your aircraft constantly at some constant rate, and then you are abruptly moving your head in some other direction, you will be having an illusion of rotation in an entirely different axis. So in that case, the pilot, if he feels that way, then he will be attempting to stop the rotation. So this is again an illusion which is known as a Coriolis illusion. Next is the graveyard spin. So in this case, a proper recovery from the spin that has ceased stimulating the motion sensing system can create illusion of spinning in the opposite direction. So you will be feeling that you are spinning in an opposite direction, and the pilot who is feeling that way, he might try to overcome that, and he might again try to spin the aircraft or turn the aircraft in the original spin direction that we were doing. Okay, so that is a graveyard spin. And so now graveyard spiral. So graveyard spiral is when we were descending, but now it is ceased, but we still feel that we are descending with our wings on level. So in that case, the pilot might want to increase the loss. He would want to pull back the control, which will increase the loss of altitude. Okay, so that is a graveyard spiral. Then we have the somatographic illusion. So in this case, a rapid acceleration during takeoff can create an illusion of nose up altitude. So in this case, the pilot will push the aircraft into nose low or pitch down. Okay. And then we have the inversion illusion. So in that case, abrupt change from climb to straight and level flight, that will create a illusion of tumbling backwards. Okay, so any pilot who is disoriented will be feeling that the aircraft is abruptly into nose low altitude, and thus he will intensify the illusion. Fine. And then we have the elevator illusion. In this case, an abrupt vertical acceleration can create an illusion of being in a climb. Disoriented pilot will feel what will he do? He will push the aircraft into a nose low attitude, and the downward vertical acceleration has the opposite direction. False horizon is when the under certain conditions like sloping clouds, obscured horizon, etc., can create an illusion that an aircraft is not aligned with proper horizon. So pilot can take any such steps which can end up the aircraft being in a dangerous attitude. Okay. Finally, we have the stroboscopic effect. So stroboscopic effect is known as a flicker effect. So in front of any illuminated object, so in case of a sun, if the propeller blades that are moving and they are moving in a very high speed, so in that case they might be appearing a little different something. So the pilots might again want to do something, some other jiggery pokery in that. So that has to be avoided, although small changes in RPM of the blades that can be done so that the illusion is gone a little bit. So that's all you need to know about it, not going much into detail. Here comes the exercises. So first is body mass index, which is the having the formula of weight per height square. So its range is from 20 to 25 for men and 19 to 24 for women. So pilots should be very much fit for flying, and if they are suffering from gastroenteritis, then they're not fit for flying. Maximum caffeine intake is 250 to 300 milligrams, i.e. 2 to 3 cups of coffee is only allowed, right? And then local anesthetic. Okay, if you are under local anesthetic, then you can fly after 12 hours, and general anesthetic you can fly after 48 hours. Okay, then we have fatigue and tiredness here. Tiredness is not willing to work. Okay, you are too much done with your work and you don't feel like doing it anymore. That is tiredness. And fatigue is actually a very deep tiredness. Right, so ordinary tiredness, this can be result of normal physical or mental exertion, but in case of a fatigue, it is because of the lifestyle and the working environment. So the effects of fatigue do not go just by a click. So that can be due to ill health, whether physically or mentally, and sleep deprivation. So all those things can be the cause of fatigue. Symptoms are memory lapses, frequent mistakes in speech and actions, rapid changes of mood, tiredness, lack of coordination, diminished awareness. Okay, so for tiredness you can sleep or do whatever like that to keep yourself again fresh and alive. But in case of fatigue, you have to accept the fact first of all that you are fatigued, and then you must maintain your balanced diet, live a stress-less life. So stay away from stress, avoid alcohol, caffeine, and also you might want to consult a doctor. Hypothermia is when the body temperature reduces from the normal, which is 98.6. So in this case, the body temperature goes down to 95, and in some cases it might even go further down to 82 degrees. Okay, so to compensate that, our body tries to keep our body warm by shivering or etc. All those things you can see, but that again uses a lot of energy of ours. So that is why this can be life-threatening conditions, and it might need emergency medical attention. So the normal amount of gravitational acceleration that we as a human being experience or are capable of for a normal condition is 1 g, that is 9.81 meter per second square or 32 feet per second square. But when we are in an aircraft and we are turning at different bank angles, for example 45 degree, we will be experiencing 1.41 g. For 60 degree it will be 2 g and 75 degree will be 3 g. Although we do not reach up to this only in extreme conditions, but that is very less. So this is what it is. Again, one more thing is positive gravitation and negative gravitation. So these are the positive gravitation. So the G maneuvers of the pilot, we will be feeling the following effect: increase in the body weight. So if you are experiencing more G, greater than 1 G, for example 1.41 or 2 G, in that case you'll be feeling that your body weight is increasing, and that your mobility will be impaired, and internal organs will be displaced, and tunnel vision, it is said. And also you call it as gray out or blackout, possible blackout in extreme cases. That is the G maneuver. And what happens in case of negative G? So in case of a negative G, so if you are diving, and then you are suddenly pulled up, in that case you might experience negative G. In that case, instinctively the blood that rushes up to your whole face, and your whole face can turn red. That is known as red out. So red out is a condition of negative G, and positive G में gray and blackout. Okay. Now crew resource management, also known as CRM. So CRM is an efficient use of the resources available on the aircraft, so that the error is reduced and the maximum efficient use of them is done, and also the workload of the human factor is reduced, so that they can have a mental free time, and they can take a breathe, and also be situationally aware, and will be able to take the decisions much more properly, and solve whatever problems are they face. They do it with much more accuracy and efficiency. So this is all the idea behind the CRM, crew resource management. Okay, now moving on to the information processing. Again, Gestalt comes into play. So Gestalt law formulates the principle governing how objects are mentally organized and perceived. So we have created a functional model in this, and this functional model, it will be having certain stages. First of all, we detect a problem, and then we'll perceive it. Then a decision is made, action is taken, and then finally a feedback is required. Okay, with the help of this, the whole functional model of information processing is done, and hence any work is done. Motor program or skill. So this is a program which in which any skill is learned, or any thing is memorized by repetitive practice, and this is held within the long-term memory. Okay, so the motor program has 3 different phases. The first is cognitive phase, then is the associative phase, and last is the automatic phase. We'll be coming to the reaction time. So the delay between the detection, stimulus, and the muscle contraction, this is known as the reaction time, the time to react. Okay, so we can say that there are 3 kinds of reaction time. The unconditioned one is the one in which the reflexes are instinctive, such as blinking. The conditioned one, which is which we are made to learn. Okay, the reflexes that we are made to learn, and trained reflexes, again it is with repeated practice. Okay, so this was about the reaction time. Well, now we'll be moving to the concepts of sensation. Stimuli is, everybody knows what stimuli is. Types of memory, we are having 3 types of memory: sensory memory, short-term memory, and the long-term memory. So the sensory memory is having some key features. There is a separate memory store for each sensory memory, and input decays rapidly. Okay. For example, sensory memory for sight. So whatever we see, the iconic memory, it is known as the iconic memory, the memory for sight, sensory memory for sight. The iconic memory is a visual sensory store. It only lasts for about 0.5 to 1 second, and so 70 to 80% of the information processed by the human is received by the visual channel. Fine. Now There is a term known as perception. We all use the word perception in our daily lives, but what exactly the perception means? It means conversion of the sensory memory to something meaningful structure. That is known as a perception. Okay. Then attention. Okay. That means devoting your attention, like focus completely on some particular resource or particular item. That is an attention. Okay, it has some limitations. So limitation is that only a limited number of items we can hold, or it can be maintained in a short term memory, and our channel capacity is also limited. So this was about attention. Again, there are further two types of attention, which is selective attention and divided attention, and then lack of attention. We won't be going into detail of that. Arousal. So arousal is a major aspect of learning theories. So if you want to learn something, you should be having an optimum amount of arousal. So actually you can see that arousal is a feeling. Like if you don't feel like doing it, obviously your interest will be gone, you'll lose attention and everything. So arousal can be of low intensity, or you can say low quantity, and optimum arousal is also there, and high arousal is there. So for working, for flying, you need an optimum amount of arousal. If you're having low arousal, then your attention may wander here and there, and you might won't be able to focus on what is being said or what is being instructed to you. And in high arousal also, it is a very much dangerous situation for the attention, which becomes again narrow. But the optimum arousal is very nice. Okay, so optimum level of arousal for each task to be learned is like lower for the more difficult or intellectual tasks, that is the cognitive, and higher for the tasks requiring endurance and persistence. Okay, when the workload is too much, that is known as overload. So the workload may be said to be acceptable if it requires 60% of the crew resources, and otherwise if it goes greater than that, and obviously it depends on the pilot's expertise also, but if it goes greater than that 60%, then the workload will be said to be overload for the crew members. Okay, so that should not be the case. Fine. Human reliability. So human reliability means the rate of error during simple and repetitive tasks. Okay, so the rate of error is normally considered to be 1 out of 100. Okay, so if there are 100 tasks, then one task can be considered as it can be an error, or some error can come onto it. But with practice, it can be reduced to 1 by 1000. So this is what how human reliability can be improved. Okay, fine. Short-term memory. So in the short-term memory, the information persists for 10 to 20 seconds. Maximum 7 plus minus 2 unrelated items can be held in the short-term memory, and the way to remember in a short-term memory is by chunking or an association. Chunking is dividing an information into small pieces so that you can remember it much more easily. And association is, again, if you're having unrelated things that are given to you and you want to remember it, then you can draw a relation in your mind through it, and then you can memorize it. Then long-term memory. Long-term memory is semantic, episodic, and procedural. Semantic memory stores general knowledge of the world. Episodic will store the events and episodes of your life, and procedural memory will include the skills. Okay, the skills that you have undergone, the training that you have undergone. So all those things will be there in your procedural memory. So these are important: semantic, episodic, and procedural memory. Okay. Now coming to another topic, which is the stress. So any event or circumstances that causes you stress is a stress factor or a stressor. Okay. There can be a lot of reasons because of which a person may be having stress. That can be due to physical or a mental thing. Most of the cases it is like marital separation, death, any injury or illness, loss of job, right? All those things are example why the life stresses occur, right? And proper rest, and you have to get out of it as soon as possible. You have to try to get out of it as soon as possible. So that is the only way you can deal with the stress. And obviously if you require any medical assistance, then you should take it. Now next point is circadian cycle. It represents the level of alertness. Its rhythm are internally generated by autonomous biological clock located in hypothalamus. So hypothalamus is a place which is responsible for the production of lot of hormones, and it regulates the sleep cycles, body temperature, appetite, etc. So from there only a biological clock we can say, which is up to 25 hours. The cycle is 25 hours, but it can be resynced to 24 hours as per the normal day situations. And so this is how the circadian cycle works, and I'll show you a figure of it so that it is much more clear to you. So it is said that during the night when you're sleeping, your blood pressure is very much reduced and you're least active in that place, obviously. And also while you are after having a meal, also your blood pressure reduces, so you cannot expect anyone to work very much enthusiastically after that. So these are the things. And then it says that resync rate is in a new time zone. If you're moving from one time zone to the other time zone, normally it is 1 to 1.5 hours per day. So much time is taken for your circadian cycle to resynchronize itself. Okay. And also it is important to know that when you're moving to the east side towards if you are, for example, moving from India to the side to Myanmar, right, and Japan, in that area, that is east side, then your circadian cycle will be 50% slower than when you're moving in the westbound flight towards Pakistan or Saudi Arabia, that side. Okay. Then adaptation of for the eastbound travel is 1 to 1.5 hours per day, but for the westbound it is 1 day. So it is much more easier for the west wala travel. Okay. Next is circadian rhythms requires less time when flying from east to west for resynchronization. Sensory motor performance is better in evening and intellectual performance is better in the morning. Okay, now moving to the sleep. So sleep is actually having two components. REM stands for the rapid eye movement and NREM stands for the non-rapid eye movement sleep. So REM is for brain restoration and NREM is for body restoration, which is again having 4 stages, stage 1 to 4. So for stage 1, it is within 10 minutes of sleeping, right? No movement of the eye. Okay, and then the eye movement, and well, you cannot say it's no movement, but a very little movement of the eye, and even the muscles also, it becomes very slow. And person can be easily woken up in this stage. In stage 2, again the eye movement and the muscles movement becomes very much slow, much more slow, and this happens within 10 to 25 minutes, and it is also the 50% of the sleep pattern. And the cardiac activity also decreases in this. Then we come to stage 3. So in stage 3, this is the beginning of the deep sleep and the slow wave delta sleep it comes in. And here, if you try to wake a person, then he will feel that he is like he might need a few minutes to orient himself back. Right here, there is no eye movement or any muscle movement, and in stage 4 also no eye movement or muscle movement, because you are into deep sleep and slow wave delta sleep. I exactly don't know what slow wave delta sleep means, but we can just remember this as of now. In case of REM, rapid eye movement, this is, as I told, for brain restoration. It occurs for 70 to 90 minutes into the sleep, and cycle lasts for 10 minutes to 1 hour. So in this case, the eye movement is very rapid, and it goes from one side of the eye to the other side, and this is how the brain's wave is also formed when we are awake. Okay, and in this only the dreams occur. And in case of infants, the REM is about 50% of the sleep, which reduces to 20% in case of adults. Now, shell model. So shell model is a conceptual model of human factors. Okay, in this we are taking into consideration all the factors with which a pilot is interacting in the aircraft. So pilot being a live person, so we consider him as a live wire. He is the heart of this model. Okay, now the pilot, if when he is interacting with, you can say, the software or the hardwares, or even the other people of the crew, you know, and any other person, then all those things are the one which are interacting with the this person. So keeping into mind all those things, a shell model is made. So S stands for software. Okay, so for example, the softwares can be the procedures, manuals, checklists, right, documents and maps and charts, all those things. And hardware consists of the flight deck, physical structure that you can touch, okay, any machinery. So this comes under the hardware. Environment. So environment is both internal and external of the workplace. Live where one is the pilot, and second L, live where, is this stands for other human in contact with the pilot. This is a shell model. As you can see, L is in the middle. This is a pilot who is interacting with all the other components of this model. So when a human and a hardware machine is interacting, we call it as liveware hardware interaction. Similarly, liveware software, liveware, and liveware and environment. Okay. In this model, the match and mismatch of the block is very important, and it is as important as the block itself. These are the blocks. So if there is not, if you see that there is a lack of interaction between the liveware and the software, then there can be a chances of error in that. So this is why the model is made, so as to keep in mind or to keep a monitor on the interaction between all these components, all these blocks, and also to monitor if there is any error occurring in this. Okay, now we will be talking about the hardware and flight deck design, size and anthropometry. What is anthropometry? It is a study of human measurement. Okay, so well, it keeps in mind the design of the flight deck, okay, the design of the seat, eye datum, all those things. So the measurement is done, and keeping into our consideration the average size and height of the person in India, the flight deck and the seating arrangement, etc., all those things are arranged inside a pilot, so that maximum efficient use of all those things and any function is done with utmost efficiency and optimum way. So for example, if some switches are to be worked out simultaneously, then they are placed next to each other, so that the pilot has in mind that these two has to be turned on or turned off simultaneously. And the any buttons or any other instruments that have to be operated very much frequently, then they will be kept nearby, and not much movement have to be done, no awkward movement have to be done for the pilot. Okay, all those things are taken into consideration, and then it is the cockpit design is styled. And eye datum, well, it is the line, it is the reference with which the pilot is able to see outside the cockpit window, the level at which he is comfortable seeing outside and doing the proper functioning inside. So as soon as you get inside the cockpit, the first thing the pilot does is sits on his seat and adjust his seat so that he's having a proper eye level, eye datum is properly there, and then checks all the other things which is working. Okay, cockpit seats, we have already talked about it. Hardware displays also we have talked about. So the ones which are frequently in use, they are kept nearer, and the ones which have to be used simultaneously are placed next to each other, and all those things, similar kind of things, are placed in such a manner. So that's all about it. I hope you liked it. Do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed it yet, and do drop a comment and tell me how do you like it. And if any other suggestions are there or any doubts, do drop it in the comments below. Definitely I will be happy to help you out. And thank you so much for watching.